हे एका मुलीचं नाव काय? तर्जानी सोनी.
I think now we can begin the session. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first AWS session of this semester. We are extremely glad to have architect Shailesh Devi, the principal architect of Within and Without, an architectural studio based in Nashik. The studio was established in 2011 and has worked on a wide range of projects like residences, farmhouses, offices, artists' studio since. Their work also includes interesting typologies like temples, masjids, and gurudwaras. Due to his keen interest in academics, architect Shailesh Devi is also associated with the College of Architecture, Nashik as a co-design faculty since the last 15 years. Today, the architect will be presenting three of his projects, Maruti Mandir, Nuri Masjid, and the Prachitas. We're extremely grateful to Sir for accepting our invite and would request to kindly begin the session.
To all. Firstly, good morning to all. Firstly, I am honored to be here and had a great pleasure and opportunity to be here at CEPT AWA platform. This opportunity given me a memories at CEPT. I work with in the extension of Kanoria Center of Arts at Sangat. May I start the presentation? Share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you enable the presentation?
Can you start? Allow the screen to.
Yeah, I think it's done now.
Yeah. Should I share the screen? Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah, we are able to see the screen.
Okay. I would like to express a gratitude to all those years and for today to be connected again, to express and share my thoughts with you all. The title AWA, that is Architecture with Architects, reminded me of a book, I reminded a book by Bernard Rudofsky of Architecture Without Architects. I think that also is interesting platform to be developed, where it says about intuitive and natural response for place and people. For me, it is a wonderful approach. Almost 2-3 years ago, I had presented my work at NASA in Aurangabad. On my way back, I visited the Pitalkhora caves, which are in fact built even before Ellora. It was an experiment to understand the quality of stone for carving. After experiencing the place and discussing with many art critics, We all felt a presence of strong spiritual energy in the place, which left me a clue to come up with a presentation on sacred spaces. The strong inspiration that fascinates me is a Vatavruksha. I think the strong inspiration that really fascinates me is Vatavruksha, a word tree. A tree organically grows with time. It absorbs, nourishes, cultivates, and spreads into branches to create a shelter and shade to all living entities. It humbly bows down to the earth again. In this complete process, it creates a threshold between nature and society. This response inspires me to always go back to the origin and give back to the society from the place that I have grown. I belong to a place which is the origin of river Godavari. While meandering on the ghats, I feel a strong sense of pure energy which has kept the place alive for years. I always had a quest to know about the factors which has kept the place timeless. Incidentally, me and Ajit Rao were walking along the ghats. I shared a thought of reconstructing the old ghats like before. Ajit Rao said, Shailesh, you will rebuild the ghats, but how will you bring back the energy of ancient soul which has gone now? That left a quest in my mind about how I can create those energies through architecture in my work. As a guide, I always make students visit these old monuments. I share my experience with them to understand its layers and explore the inner beauty in its very spiritual sense. I would share here one of the experiences of the oldest temple, the Kalaram Mandir. It is situated in a chowk, the topmost point of the area. It is densely surrounded by the houses nearby. At the entrance of the temple complex, we remove the shoes to step into the temple. The touch of the stone gives a sense of warmth. The threshold arches built in series envelops the temple. It makes you detach from the external world and thoughts going into your mind. Slowly you step down to the Pradakshina path, which focuses your visual concentration. While taking Pradakshina, the Shikhar is at the center of the journey. After completing the Pradakshina, you slowly step up ahead towards the Sabha Mandap. The sounds of ringing bells, the chanting in the background keep our sense active to the surrounding. Through a small odor, you step inside, bowing your head. To smell of kapoor adds more strong vibration to the space. The deity appears in a dark garbhagriha. After the darshan, you get prasad, which gives an emotional fulfillment to the journey. As I recall these memories today, take a look back and try to understand that these are the experiences which were the pivotal points to change the way to perceive architecture. I understand life is a journey, all about going deep within the inner core. The search that I always ponder on how the destiny makes things happen. Relatedly, blessed with an opportunity to create a home for a God. Years ago, I visited the place Karwan, nearby to Nasik, located at the edge of Sahyadri ranges, which is yet the untouched part from any development. When I reached the village, I was walking down the streets, observing at the old houses, all made of stone plinths and sloping roofs. This struck me to think of climate and context. Moving around, I reached the main chowk of the village, where I saw old dilapidated temple, which had left only some ruins. After interacting with locals and the overall discussions about the needs and aspirations, we went to the river passing by the village. The river and small ghats had a presence of energy, which I felt very much at the ghats of Godavari. Naturally, my mind inquired about the local stone. Is it possible to make the temple out of the natural stone, which will make it strongly rooted in the context? I just expressed about my feeling to make the temple out of this local stone. A local farmer from the crowd said, I can donate my piece of land for digging the stone. That's where all my calculation of cost, budget fly away. And friend of me who had approached me for this purpose had a stone crusher. And I guess this was all needed, which made our work easy. As I also talked about how the destiny works, here it made absolute miracles. So I made the home of God from its own place and also made it economical as well as ecological, which also made change the minds of other villagers to import stone from Rajasthan and build over budgeted temple just out of their strong emotions. While creating the space, a lot of research was done about old temple proportions, scales, light quality, and also the search for silence. Interpretation of old temple with today's time and context was challenging for me. Here are some photographs of it.
मम्मी हाँ रेडी
While we started with the project, the village had two groups of people, one in the support and other in the oppose of the new temple. But somehow, for a good cause, destiny made it possible to make it happen. And as a result, at the end of the construction, two groups come together. People of the other group who had their illegal structures around the temple premises removed it themselves and made the complete complex positive. This is what I feel like a tree giving back is a contribution to the society, and the destiny made its impact. A small Pran Pratishta ceremony gathered around 7,000 people for consecutive 7 days. It was a memorable experience, like a miracle. After a while, I was traveling with my colleague for some other purpose. Along the way, I happened to visit the temple again. I realized that something which wasn't imagined or intended to happen has made its way to make a place purer and more meaningful. The light hits the edge of Garbhagruha, and washed out the complete temple with light rays, filled up the space with positive energy. On my way back, just thinking about the sacredness of these experiences and such places, I shared a thought to colleague that just like the temple, we should get a chance to also design a masjid, a completely different culture. When engrossed in doing the work, an expression come from within in the form of poem, transcendental light reaching towards the Mother Earth, penetrating through apertures, performs a sacred ritual. Transparency of pure order induce a spirit of wonder, connecting to the inner core, resides in a silent soul. Then, this was quite after a long time when temple got built. I had visited Turkey at that time. I remember specifically reading about Sinan, Hassan Fatih, Rasim Badran, and other poets. Suddenly one day, two mullahs, Maulanas, visited my studio, where we had a discussion about doing masjid in the city itself. I was completely shocked. How can these people have faith in me to design the most important place of their culture? It was an immensely difficult task for me. If anything goes wrong, what will happen? But I always took lessons from Doshi and Corbusier about taking risk in the life like an acrobat. I didn't know about the religion, their cultural practices, and took this opportunity as a chance for new learnings in life, a completely new start. 2.5 years of research, including their practices and religion, and a lot of discussion about interpreting it. Pondering with these learnings, an idea of looking at masjid itself as a threshold emerged. Makkah is considered as the origin of Muslim religion and Kaaba as the center of the earth. At the worship of each one face of in the direction of Qibla in a concentric pattern, focusing to the center of the circle. After a lot of explorations, making numerous models, tedious working, we arrived at a point where we can express and present the proposal to the community. The idea generated from the core, how the energy of the people can be converted to crux of sacred architecture. The Nuri Masjid is situated in the core of a densely populated Muslim community residing around. We arrived at a point where we could express and present the proposal to the community. At the presentation, we went with models and plans were put on walls of the old masjid. I expressed about the journey, the moment that will take place, and how it affects the mind and body, the scale variations, gradation of light, and about the experience. Everyone was deeply involved in it. I remember while explaining, I unknowingly said, at last, when you reach inside the temple, there will be a complete feel of silence. Immediately, it strikes me that I am talking about the masjid and not the temple. But the people listening me were sensitive towards the emotions. They felt the energy with what everything was expressed. They felt the hard work and truthfulness of the work. Nobody from the crowd uttered a word regarding it. This is what happens when we work with spirit. The proposal got finalized and shortly the construction process started. During our working process, it happened to meet architect Masood Taj. He was invited to Nasik for a presentation. He presented about the personal observations about his religion and was presenting on Rahel, a small instrument on which Quran is kept while reading. He wonderfully explained the deep meanings and interpretations about it. While discussing about Sinan's work, he gave a complete list of his work and asked the viewers which may be his favorite project out of that. I don't know about any of his projects at that time, but intuitively I answered and it come out to be right, which also surprised me. Later, after the complete presentation, he told me he had been asking this question in many lectures but never got the right answer. Somewhere deep in my mind, I had a feeling that the path we are walking on might lead us for further answers. It made me build a strong confidence. Such incidences in life brought us faith, and with a belief on following the intuitional feelings rather than the intellectual mind. This lateral way of thinking and ways made a lot of changes in the initial design proposal. I added some more layers to the design till the end of every casting on site. I was thinking to and fro about is it right and made small changes whenever it was needed. The initial inspiration taken from Kaaba was metaphysically interpreted in the form of the outer biggest circular layer enveloping the building and detaching the space from the external disturbances. Due to the availability of small land and heavy requirements, we had to go multi-storied. But thinking about the scale merging into the surrounding made me go within the earth for the main hall. The layer movement, wazoo, and other needs serves for the purpose of detachment from the surrounding. The basement, which in itself a challenging task for a worship place to be. With retained RCC wall from the roots, there comes the idea of being truthful with the presence of material. The main hall stood with the minarets at the corners, which were used as a wind scoops to the lower ground. Embedding the verses and names of Allah in the casting has made a permanent backdrop for the memory to be imprinted in people's spirit. Lot of critical discussion with the community made the design more mature. Let's see some photographs of it. While designing, I had penned down some thoughts. I would like to read it in poetry. Bless me, O pious soul, be with me on this wondrous node, emerging an urge to be one, breathing the light reaching towards none. Layering words makes an order to grow, liminal space induce heart to flow. Fill the emptiness with meaningful silence, dissolving within for a blissful soul. Bless me, O pious soul, be with me on this wondrous node. Again and again, I will go back to the place of my origins where I feel each thread comes from the place. On the ghats of river Godavari, there exists Gadge Maharaj Dharmashala. Gadge Maharaj was himself like a threshold. A threshold between the needy people and God. He is known for his cleanliness and social contribution towards the society. The Dharamshala he is built on the threshold of the land and river, in an ascending layers of spaces connected with the streets, converted into staircases. It pauses at the courtyards at different levels. The rooms envelop around the courts, creating a dialogue to the place and people. The place must have been brought into existence with very minimal spending and must have been went through phases to see completely what is today. The approach is fulfillment of basic needs and the idea of minimalistic living. The Dharmashala is socially active till the present, responding to the time and serving the people around. The thoughts of Gadge Maharaj had gone deeper in the minds of the people of this time also. It let the needy acquire the room at a very low cost of about rupees 50 or 60 per day. That's the example of utmost contribution for the society. Another personality who inspires me is Vinoba Bhave. Recently, I visited Gandhi Ashram, but surprisingly, this time after Hriday Kunj, I specially visited the kutir of Vinoba Bhave. I just don't know how, but it was a heartfelt call which pulled me towards the place. I observed each space, waited for long, with a feeling of deep silence and a strong vibrations within. I was completely moved by the experience of these moments. This made me feel about his presence in the space. It memorizes me to learn and absorb the minimalistic ways of living. During a discussion of a Jain museum project, I met Dhan Vallabh Maharaj, who is very keen about meditation and contemplation. We connected in a dialogue very well in his room. He expressed about the knowledge and the practice he gained throughout the years. Just in the dialogue, I expressed my thought of more appropriate space to perform his daily activities. And we developed the room for him. The first thought that struck me was of creating a neutral space which must isolate itself from different dimensions. It should remain untouched from the materialistic sense of being. The space which will exist in the form of pure sacred geometry. A dynamic shift of directions will bring a center as a source of energy to the space. It must be contentful space filled with the qualities of Shiv and Shakti. It brought me much clearer vision and closer to the concept of aparigraha. To bring these thoughts into existence, broken stone pieces were put into an order of strips. They were assembled one over the other, forming organic gaps in between to let the filtered light in. The modular square was inserted and oriented to the exact directions. The four sides of the space, dedicating each with a space for reading, writing, resting, and meditating, were carved out like niches, forming spaces within a space, yet giving it a homogeneous and monolithic character. The purity in the materials is kept intact, resembling the truthfulness of the character. During our discussion with Sadhuji, he has shared a letter from his Guruji about Sadhana Jivan. It was worth preserving. I made it carved in stone, which will stay with him as a timeless memory. The space is a conscious attempt to bring in the filtered light and to add the frequency of silence. I will share some photos of it. Space within. These are some of the most important nodes in the continuous journey of my life. I guess the quest still continues to be, which has made me sensitive towards architecture and society. So I always say this poem, which I have written long back, and try to remember my real aspiration. It says that an artistic inspiration meandering through its own existence, strong current of river searching her own flavor, a path of resonance creating a musical threshold, a quest for spiritual life searching for the silence within. O storyteller of this mysterious land, dissolve in the love for the peaceful life, an artistic inspiration meandering through its own existence. Thank you very much.
It was a lovely presentation, sir. I think now we can open the session to the questions. You can either type in the chat box or unmute and ask.
Hello. 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 Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Very good morning. This is Sir Mahek from architecture at DIPSA. Sir, I had a question in terms of that when we are designing a space specifically for meditation purposes, so in that case, what qualities can be or should be included in such kind of places. So I am actually designing a meditation space specifically for Vipassana, where people are supposed to go there for 10 days and they're not supposed to speak to each other. And also in that one place, you are supposed to stay for almost 12 hours a day and meditate. So there are a lot of things that I'm considering in terms of light or thermal comfort, but what could be other parameters that can be considered? Could you please share?
Yeah, actually, you are talking about physicality, how to create some physicality. But the most important part is you should understand what is Vipassana and try to understand what is real meaning or the essence of that meaning. So there you have to go deep within and find answers for yourself. You have to experience those things. When you start experiencing completely involved in those things, then naturally things started coming up. I think this is a very different process where you have to follow, that you don't have to be a guidelines with physicality, but you are connected direct with the soul. So every answer what you want is not coming from outside. It is going to come from within yourself, and you have to be experience those things. Near luckily, I am also developing 2 3 Vipassana center in Igatpuri. And I am also searching the same thing. The answers are not, direct. It takes a lot of efforts. It takes a lot of, questioning for yourself. It takes a lot of questioning for why you are here and what is this Vipassana is going to change in your life. So these
Yes.
questions are very important.
Yes, sir. So I have actually attended 2 shibirs. I've stayed there in those places and I've experienced what kind of process people go through when they are there. But it is, I am facing difficulty in terms of translating that into architecture and bringing it into architecture. So there I mean, I'm facing difficulty at that point.
Yeah, it's natural. It's not that easy. So you have to work hard and hard. You have to try. You have to search. You have to do the experiments, fail the experiment. Actually, failing is also very interesting part. So you do it, you fail it, make models, cut that models, changes it, then again ask questions. I feel that those are the things you have to do. The answer doesn't come, in one go. Never, it won't come. You have to do it, let it comes from within. I have an experience that you should trap yourself sometime, that there is no way to going out. And when that happened, at that moment some thought can come up in your mind. So these are the intuitive way of doing it. There is no theory, there is no answers of having 1 plus 1 2, or do something so you can create these spaces. Here you have to create something which is you don't know. So it's a completely new experiment, and you are on this voyage, and you have to do it by yourself. But hard work is what is required, and you have to do it by different experiments. Fail it, do the failure, use of it, use those failures, ask the questions. I think the questions are most important part, where you start questioning, the answers automatically come. This is a quest is of lifetime. It's not a quest of in few days or few months. It's a lifetime quest. We are still searching, and you should still search. That's it. There is no formula for that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I had a question. So, after the presentation, when I think about the word threshold, I have different, what do we say, different definitions of threshold that we have been taught about it, that what I think. Okay. So, sir, I wanted to ask that what is your interpretation of threshold? That what does threshold mean to you with these projects? How did you redefine threshold? Maybe in the mandir or the masjid or the last place that you showed.
Actually, threshold is the most important part of our life. It is not, where you pause. Actually, you start your thinking. You always go in a hurry. You walk down, but there are always something where you stop and again retrospect what you have done. So threshold is a place where you can really stop and think about, am I doing which is meaningful? Am I doing whatever I have done? Is it contributing to the society? These thoughts are very important part. And for me, these projects are very crucial projects in my life journey, where I think that makes them means those projects make me think again what I am doing, what I have to do, and what is my role in architecture, my role in life, and what the way I should pursue this architecture. So these are the threshold which are very important in everybody's life. And on this threshold, you are compressed, you are focused. It's like if you have seen the threshold of a temple, it's completely compressed. It makes you, it's very small, concentrated, and there that concentrated energy makes you grow again. So it's like a reborn. You again born from that. So every time like a snake, you remove all baggage what you have in your past and change something. So these are the opportunities actually to change. So threshold in that way is a very significant part of life. And these projects, which makes think again and again, asking question again and again, and make you a new person, reborn again and again. So you should try this at each part of your life, I think. So it's maybe consciously you should approach in that way. Then you are more creative, or you are a dead man. You are doing whatever you continuously do from morning to evening. So it becomes a repetitive thing. If you are a creative person, you should start your day with a new birth. And luckily, we are you are very fortunate to have a chance to do such things, so that we can reborn again with in thinking, change our thinking, develop our thinking. We are not here, uh, by birth something is everything with us. We are by step, by understanding few things, questioning few things, doing new things, experimenting new things, failing in new things, again questioning. We really think what is going to be ahead. So these are very crucial points. And I feel that threshold is the what really inspires. It is very tough because at that moment you are completely trapped. It is very difficult situation, like you know you climb the mountain. Climbing the mountain is very tough. When you climb it, it's very difficult. You break your parts of your body, but when you reach up, you feel something very satisfied. So everywhere this threshold matters. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, is this understood? Or
Yes, sir.
yeah,
So I had a question. So
yeah.
all of your projects had a very interesting play of light and shadow. There were different qualities of lights achieved in different spaces. So I was just curious to know that what is the design process for that like? Do you work through models, and I mean, how do you make sure that there's a certain quality of light achieved in certain spaces?
Actually, it's very, intangible things. You can't, directly do something. You don't anticipate many things. Something happened by chance, but you have to do work. Because basically, I work with models more, big models, where I can really see how the light comes, and I define which type of light I want in that space. The thought is very important behind this. It's not how the light, the thought of what type of space you want is very important. And according to that, the light qualities you have to understand. And there are so many things you have to do, repeatedly do, broke the model, remove the model, something change again. And many times I changed at site also. See, the process never ends in the drawings or model. It still goes because the structure has to talk with you. You can't just do something and let that build somewhere else. So I repeatedly go to the visit the sites. I see the structure. Many times that structure gives clues to us. So it's like a upbringing of a child, and when it started growing, you observe him. You observe what he is doing, and then start making it happen. So then that light or those overall space understanding will make you feel better, and then you start designing that. So it's very much a conversation with the structure, a dialogue with the structure. And absolutely it required doing it on models, at offices, sketches, everything there is there. So hard work is there, but many times you don't get it on site. So you have to strive a little more at every time whenever you are there. So you have to ask questions and then try. So in temple, I can there are 13 to 14 various layers of light. In mosque, there are nearly 10 to 12 layers of light, of gradation. So these are the first you have to understand that light is the most important part of your project. So he is a hero. So first is this, that experience is most important part. Light is the hero of this. So you have to do music, you have to do a movie by light only. Then your complete focus online. But nowadays, what happened that everyone are concerned about, uh, outer material or the way it's looking. The most important thing is light and the space it forms. And that's why I prefer whenever I do a structure, I prefer to make the surrounding or the material palette completely mute, so that light will speak. So that is the focus of every design I try. Maybe this
Yes, sir.
you can
There are a few,
understand this.
yes, sir. Yeah. There are a few questions in the chat box as well. So Vasudha
Yeah.
is asking, what is the conscious thought of selecting or choosing materials in such structure?
It's always search the surrounding. That's it. In my opinion, local things are very important, and then see the typology and how you respond. So material is the last thing it comes. In my opinion, the body is very important. Then your clothing. So body should have that attitude. The body should have that, that personality, the thought which is going inside, that soul, which is very important. So if you achieve that, then materials naturally comes. So you have to just question that body, that what material you want. So that's the easiest way. So you don't require too much thinking on that. The answer comes from there only. Only the dialogue is important. That's it. You can't jump to the material directly. So basically, in architecture, thought, the way your attitude towards that thought, the people performing that thought, and you should know that your architecture is backdrop. He's not a hero. He's not for showing. He's not there for the identity to see, show me that I am here. You are just a backdrop to you perform a life, to develop, to grow. So if you understand that, then you will start saying that, okay, then what should be my materials? So I don't want to show. I don't want to see. I just want to give people, to celebrate, to enjoy, to breathe. The architecture should breathe in that. That's it. So why you required so much things? It's only for the protective layer, you can say, as a cloth. And it should changes as per the context. Absolutely. So everywhere we can't wear the same cloth. It's what happening now. You take something from West and put it here. It's not at all. It's obvious. It's horrible. So it should be as per the context. If you want to go to the Himalayas, you have to wear a jacket. That's it. Or in Rajasthan, you want to hear something which is porous so that wind can flow. You feel that air. In South, you're required to protect from sun and also the rain. So as per the context, by sensitive understanding, by understanding the surroundings, you should give a chance to develop your own design, and that design only gives material. So I never actually I can't see a material in my building. That's what I see, only poem. That's it. I see only space and light. Nowadays I don't see structure also. So this happened. That's it. It's a natural process. You can teach someone.
Next is Sharvi's question. In continuation to the previous question, how much role did the economics play in the choice of materials in such a project?
That's why you should be ecological, not economical. So ecology is very important. It plays a beautiful role in that. Economy, in my opinion, you should spend what is required for that place. That's it. So material, that's what I am saying, that material is changes as per the context and the typology you are dealing with. Sure, it has an impact, but it is a backdrop, in my opinion.
Next
So
is
when we are doing this prachetas, so the material we choose, that it should have, without cost we can do it. Na? So we brought stones from, what is a wastage, and from that wastage we created that room, so that we don't have to order. So it's the attitude actually. So I don't want to, when a person who is residing there, he has already given all his, I mean, he's from a wealthier family and he is already giving everything from his personal life. How can I design for him which is not like that? So I don't want to show something. So all the stones are, whatever left behind after cutting, then we brought that and we make out of that. So where is the economy? It's the attitude. So I can spend any number of, cost, but that's not the right way. Right way is to be apt to that person, the context, the typology.
the next question is from Varisha. What, according to you, is the future of sacred spaces? Will the coming generation go to religious buildings for fulfilling their beliefs or for searching silence?
Actually, we as an architects are responsible for this. Do you remember that whenever we go to any city to visit a city, we naturally go to the heritage buildings? Like Ahmedabad, we go to Sarkhej or Adalaj. Why can't we see, new buildings? Because there is no quality inside. the quality of timelessness, the quality of inquisitiveness, the quality of, binding you, the quality of dialogue. You can really talk with that. So we are losing our modern heritage. We don't create modern heritage. So these sacred spaces has to be designed in the way those people have done with pure heart. I have reading a book of Sinan, and he says that we should be the person who is going to create. Should be a pious person. So actually, are we in that direction? Are we making ourselves pious like that, a pure like that? If we are pure, whatever we create will be pure. If we are sacred, we feel the sacredness inside, then whatever we create will be sacred. So whatever the creation will be through you. And if you are like that, the creation will be like that. And nowadays it's not happening. People are not that time to become a pure and completely involved, completely go inside and come up with something which is unique and something which has a value, and it touches your soul more towards I. We are always considering only seeing things. Actually, we have all senses to learn. Like Palasma says that you should learn by all senses, or you should absorb energy by all senses. But where are we now? We are not doing that. That's why in today's sacred spaces don't pull us. We are still depend on the old heritage structure to have a dialogue. The structures repel us. So as an architects, we should start designing those things. So we have to create our own heritage. That's the most important thing. But that is not our goal. Our goal is to just to pacify, or just to make the client happy, or not socially responsible. We should be think of people, the place. Then automatically the sacred spaces will come. Your studio should be sacred. Your house should be sacred. Your house should be temple. Why not? Your workspace should be temple. Why not? Why you have to go to temples for to feel that peace?
The next question is from Adesh. Sir, how do you decide that after designing this specific space, it will affect the user in a specific way only? And how do you design such spaces that brings out a specific emotions from the user? How do you understand that a specific space will arouse happiness or sadness or various emotions?
It's a very big question. But you don't have to be very specific. If you have a child within you which is going to be happy, then every child in every person is going to be happy. So you have to be go inside and see the constants which makes. So you have to be understand as a person, not as a person, as a human being, what is best, what are the constant makes you happy. And if you really tap that constant which are in core, so whenever some other person also comes, or which are not a part of that culture, also feel the same way. So it's not about the specificity, it's about going deeper inside and finding which are the real things, which real values which will makes people happy or celebrative, or find a silence in that. If you do that, if you connect with that, then automatically it will be for everybody. So many times we make small parts. It's better to be wholesomely do something which will connect to when I am doing this masjid. there are so many people, children around it, you know. So those children, when doing the construction, they go inside the basement, and I observe that they completely became silent. They don't, as they are outside, they are very talkative, but when they go inside, they feel that presence. So it's up to you how to create those spaces so that silence appears or you feel that silence. So it's not about specific group which you have to focus. It should be wholesome thing, whole values thing which you should connect.
The next question is, in today's world of technology and futuristic thoughts and emerging new culture, how to fulfill the requirements of today's needs, keeping the roots and our culture alive? What is the role of an architect?
I think I demonstrated how we can really go for it. So you should be confident that whatever the origin you have to interpret it. You have to interpret by yourself, understanding today's time, not just taking something from outside and putting alien in there. It's better to you study, you observe, you research, do the research, and start thinking about what can be if those people who have designed those Jaisalmer villages or those things, what will happen if they are now? How they will design? Will they go to the America and start exploring? No. They will again think about what is context, today's need, the way people live, the life, the vibrancy of life, the purity of life. And they start questioning those, and then they evolved. So why we can't evolve? Why you require direct ready-made answers? You can cultivate some tree, a seed, and then it will evolve into a flower. The same way your practice should evolve. Why you require immediate answers? You should have a patience and persistence, so that as time goes, you start thinking of each thing and then questioning those things, and a quest for something which is you want to be a part. So that required patience, and that patience is very important. That attitude of having not having any ready-made answers, or just take something and put something, is not the way of creativity. Creativity is to do something which you haven't done before. So then it is change. What you haven't done before makes you you know very vulnerable. You think now, what I can do, and there the things start. So these things are evolve. These are not directly you get theories about it. Okay, I put this, and something evolved. The ingredients are same, but the food is in everyone's. If you taste, the food is different by a different chef. The ingredients are same. So what is that? We should learn from this cooking. So ingredients are not important. The way you perform, the way you do, the way you are working with those ingredients is important. The process is very important. The meaning behind is important. Your attitude behind is important. If you cultivate that, then it's done. You don't. It's very simple actually, architecture in that way. You have to cultivate a habit of good. Then it's naturally evolved. You have to be good to evolve something good. That's it. So make yourself good, not best. Make your life meaningful than famous or something like that.
The next question is, can the concept of aparigraha be compared to minimalism?
It's up to it. Actually, it's a minimalism where you mute the complete surrounding. So the performance is going to happen as has the most important thing. So aparigraha is that only. You don't require many ambitions. No, you require remove. It's like, call that neti in our Upanishad or the Gita. It says that neti, you should remove something, remove, and what remains as the basic things, the essence is what is required. So that is most important thing. So from thoughts, you just remove that. Is this really required? You question. Is this real? Let it go. Let it go. Let it move. Remove it, and after that, what is remains is important, and that is what is essence of that space, and that is what is architecture for, let's say, a particular you are talking about. That those are the essential things you have. That's it, and you can live life with it. That sadhu are so much there; they have left everything. So then, for them, it should be like that only. The place should be like that only, not ornamental. So the thoughts also start sinking, and it helps you go within yourself to have a meditation, to have a sadhana.
I think we are through with the questions. Okay, so we have one more. So Vasudha is saying, as you said correctly, light talks to the space itself if we design accordingly. So how does a light in the mosque is different from the light in the temple?
Yeah, it has to be. No? When there is, see, the process is completely different in mosque and temple. In temple, you go inside by one person. You travel from outside. You have to focus towards the center of the deity, and you have to be completely cut from the outside, and then your journey is personal, very one person. But in mosque, you are, is a togetherness. The energies of togetherness is there. So you go there with, complete energy. You face to the, west, and to the Makkah, where you believe that is the place where you have to bow down. So all things are different, as it's never only one thing. So all automatically the light has to talk like that, but the overall, the end result has to be one. See, it's like your performance is different, but at the end, the performance, the main motive is that you feel silence. You should talk with yourself. You make, you create a space which makes you to go inside, to think about yourself, and to completely silence with that. That is the both, in both places. You just, it's the name that you change, but the main goal, the main thing is you became one with yourself. And to do that, so many different ways of doing it. In our case, everyone has his own way. Find your own way. That's why the expressions changes. Experience within yourself is same. So in mosque also, you feel that your movement pattern is such that you became yourself, one with yourself, and that is very important wherever you face. So it's actually that experience matters. Expression just happens, and the naming is just, it's it's there. That's it. For me, it's everything is same. That's why I'm sure all things. For me, that a particular room, that room is also the same as the temple, as the same as mosque. I'm doing Gurudwara also. So all are threshold, actually, that transform you from yourself. It is a place for transformation. That is very important. A place for transformation. You transform your energy, convert your energy into the energy of universe. That is the main thing. That is required. That's it. If you can do that, great. That's it. Hope this may find useful.
Yes, sir, definitely. I think we are through with the questions now, and
Thank
it was a
you.
wonderful session. And I'm sure everybody learned a lot and has changed perspective while looking at design and spaces, especially the sacred spaces. So now we would like to conclude the session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Take-
It's my honor to be here. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, sir.
Maybe this will help you. Actually, this helped me, to have a dialogue with you and again, pondering my own thoughts. Am I going right? That's it. It's good. Good to be here. Wonderful.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody, for joining today.
Thank you.